Hi, my name is Dave Byers, and I'm going to share songwriting with you. I've written a ton of songs since 1979. I've copywritten many of those songs and recorded them as well. I've played them for many audiences, congregations, and churches and at different events. And I just really enjoyed writing songs, and I want to be able to help you write songs as well. I'm going to take some things from a book I wrote called Songwriting Fundamentals that is available to you. It's typically sold for $14.99. We've sold it for many years at that price worldwide. But right now I want to just offer something to you. If you're interested in the book, you can get it for half price with free shipping if you enter the code SAVE, S-A-V-E, into the shopping cart as a discount code. So I just want to help you out and share my love of songwriting with you. Okay, a few of the different things that we need to cover with a song is, firstly, we've got to get their attention. Sometimes you can do that with your first line and draw them right into the song, or just different lines throughout the song. But you need to do it pretty early, because if you don't catch their attention quick enough, they're gonna leave. They're gonna turn it off. They're gonna tune you out and start daydreaming or whatever the case is. So we need to catch their attention. We need to draw them in to the song. You can do that with lyrics. You can do that with a melody that's interesting. You can do that with instrumentation or something like that. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but we need to draw them into the song. And then secondly, we need to use some basic songwriting structure, so that it has some structure that's just understandable for them, because as humans, we're used to similar structure within a song, and we kind of expect that. So it's important that you as a songwriter at least understand that. It's not a good idea to break all the rules before you've even learned them. And why they're not really rules. I call them fundamentals. Where I got this at is I studied tons of songs. I thought, I've read a lot of magazine articles about songwriting. I've read a lot of interviews about songwriting. I've read a lot of books, honestly, about songwriting. I've probably read about 16 different books on songwriting. But one thing that helped me out an awful lot was I just went into this deep study of successful songs in different genres. And I pulled up the lyrics and I just read through them and tried to find out what is it about this song that made it successful. And then I would compare that to other songs in that same genre. And it was amazing how many similarities there were. You didn't have a lot of songs breaking all these rules. I'm a rule breaker, kind of stuff. You had a lot of songs following a very similar format. So I'm going to give you the basic fundamentals, that I call them, of songwriting. Once you get the songwriting fundamentals down, then you do what you want with them. But you will have an idea of why they're fundamentals and why so many successful songs use them, and you can incorporate them in your own songwriting. One of the things that we're going to talk about is a hook. And a hook is that phrase that usually it's the song title. I'll give you an example. Another one bites the dust. Now you hear that repeated throughout the song. Why do you hear it repeated? Because they want you to remember it. And it's laid over top of this really cool bass guitar riff, which is another hook too. It's a musical hook. It's something repeated. They want it pounded into your head. So when you walk away from that song, you know the song title and you're singing it in your head. That's one thing that we as a songwriter need to do. We need to establish that. We need to give that hook into their head, so when they're done with it, they can come over to you and say, hey, I like that song called whatever that it was, or I can go look it up on iTunes, or I can go buy it, or whatever the case is. The hook draws them in. It's a cool line, that phrase, usually anywhere from between maybe 2 and 5 or 6 words at most. That is your billboard for your song. It's real quick there, and it's called a hook. It's also called often the title of the song. Normally the hook is the title of the song. Again, songwriting fundamentals. It's hard to have a hook that's one phrase and then a title is another phrase, because all of a sudden you've lost your focus. And it's incredibly important in a song that you keep your focus. very narrow and specific because you have a short amount of time. Songs are generally 3 or 4 minutes. You don't have a lot of time to incorporate a bunch of different characters. This isn't a movie, it's a song. You've got a verse, another verse, and maybe 2 or 3 chorus repeats, possibly a bridge. That's it. You don't have a lot of time, so you need to keep your focus very condensed. So the next thing we want to cover is the chorus. The chorus is the part that surrounds the hook and makes it singing. It gives it generally a 4 to 6 line part of your song that is repeated over and over. It's easy to sing. It's very catchy. It's going to include the hook at least once, usually twice, sometimes even more, and it's going to repeat that. You don't want to really repeat it with different melodies. You want to stamp it into their brain with one certain melody, so when they walk away, they're singing it. But maybe you start it. It's very common that, for instance, line 1, you have the hook, and line 4, or the last line, you have the hook. Especially, the most popular spot is the very last line, because that's the first line and the last line of any stanza, any paragraph, any section of your song essentially is going to be the most important, which you hit them with first, which you leave them with at the end. So you really don't want to hide it in the inner lines, which are the less important lines. It's important to have that taken care of at the beginning or the end. Another example is that song Sweet Home Alabama. It's got a musical riff, but it also has that Sweet Home Alabama, it's singing part over and over. It's sung several different times. Why? So you remember it. So you go away singing that Sweet Home Alabama. That's a hook as well. There's many hooks. Obviously, most every song has a hook. It's entirely important to have a hook in your song. The chorus surrounds the hook, and the next part of the song are verses. Verses point to the chorus. They explain your hook. For instance, let's go back to Another One Bites the Dust. The verses explain what they're already talking about. Gives the storyline of Another One Bites the Dust. In Sweet Home Alabama, it tells you why Alabama is such a cool place to be. It gives you some story, expands on the idea, so you understand it more. It doesn't start telling you about some other thing or why it's so cool. It stays on Alabama. Or the other song, it stays on Another One Bites the Dust. Keep your focus, okay? So verses give more details. Verse 1, you set up the story, and then you hit them with a hook. And then go to verse 2. What do you do with verse 2? You just simply expand the story more. You push it forward. You give them more details. You draw them in even more. You've drawn them in with verse 1. You've given them the chorus. You've given them something to sing about. And then with verse 2, you're going to give them more information and draw them in even more. New songwriters will often write verse 2 and not tell you anything more. And you're left with, well, what happened here? Or can't you give me anything more to this story? That you've got them interested. It's like you meet somebody on the street and say, hey, I want to tell you this great story. You tell them just a couple quick things, and they're like, wow, you got my attention. Tell me more. And then you don't tell them anything else. And they walk away disappointed because you seemed excited. You had this story you wanted to tell me and you didn't tell me much. That's kind of like what it is when you go into a verse 2, for instance, and you just simply don't go any deeper into the song. So what is a bridge? Bridges didn't used to be as popular as they are now. Now almost every song has a bridge these days. It's not a bad thing. Bridges are cool. It's just amazing how almost every song has a bridge now, where before it was kind of uncommon. It was the every once in a while song. But a bridge goes even deeper than a verse 2, for instance. Generally, you're going to have different chord progression there, maybe a little different melody going on, just because it separates itself a little bit more from the song. It gives you a little break, essentially. Instead of doing a third verse, a lot of times they'll do a bridge just to give you a break from the same monotony of verse 1 and then verse 2, and here comes verse 3 with the same kind of musical melody and chord progression, that kind of stuff. They'll break it up and give you a little bit of relief from that, and a bridge, give you some different music, different melody, and then come right back to the chorus again. So it's important again with a bridge, just like your verse 2, you've got to say something new, give them more information, flash forward in time, flash back in time, give them a twist of the story. They thought the whole song was about this, but here it was really about that, and you surprise them, wow, kind of stuff. Maybe you just sum up everything, or in a cool way, but it needs to have a point of being there, because if you go into your bridge and you don't say anything new, you've bored them, and when they're bored, they turn you off, they tune you out, whatever the case is. We don't want to do that as a songwriter. We got to keep their attention. So those are the basic parts of a song. We're going to do other things like we're going to talk about rhyming. We're going to talk about mapping out your songs and different things like that. But again, I want you to consider, I wanted to whet your appetite here. I want you to get this book, Songwriting Fundamentals, typically $15. Yours for half price right now if you enter the code SAVE at this website listed below. And I want to help you out with your songs. So any input on this, feel free to drop me a line, add a comment there. I appreciate you. Subscribe to this channel so we can get you more quality videos, and I hope you check out some of the other videos I have. My name is Dave Byers, and have a great day.